Now it's time to talk about possibly my most anticipated release of 2021. Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today we're talking about All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Lynn Herman. This is a brand new release, came out just in November, I think November 9th, and I was really excited about this book. So the author Amanda Foody is also the author of Ace of Shades, a trilogy, and Daughter of the Burning City book as well. And Ace of Shades is possibly my favorite series of all time, possibly one of, because I feel like I do need to read it before I commit to that kind of statement. But I was very excited about her newest book. So this one is not just by her, it's co-authored. So apparently the two authors are like best friends and they started writing this book in 2017. So it took quite a couple of years to get to us, and it is finally here. And Lynn Herman is the author of the Devouring Grey duology and the Drowning Summer. So I've not read either of those, but maybe you have. I've definitely heard a lot about the Devouring Grey books. Let's get into this one. I have read it. I'm ready to review for you. I'm ready to discuss. I have very complicated thoughts. So first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge how nice looking this book is. And this is, I think, the US cover. I looked up the UK one and oh boy, someone did not want to do their job. The UK version looks like someone was like, title incoming, let's just put this thing together. So I got this on Book Depository praying that it would be the right cover, because sometimes they say like, yeah, this cover is just an example, it doesn't have to be the cover you're gonna get. So I was nervous, but it is the cover I want, and I just wanted to show you something before we begin, and is the beautiful inside. Oh my god, how good looking is this bad boy. Very good looking. If I can say so myself, it looks a bit orangey on the camera, but it's supposed to be same color as my lipstick, so we'll see. Let's talk about All of Us Villains. So, bit of a synopsis. This is a YA fantasy, I guess high fantasy, although it is set in like a modern-ish time, in kind of contemporary-ish setting, but in a very special world. So in this world there's magic, there's high magic, and then there's a low magic. So high magic has been believed to disappear many years ago. This was the super powerful type of magic that doesn't regenerate, so it just disappeared because people used it up. And then we have low magic, which can be gotten from nature, all that kind of thing. I don't actually understand really how they get it, but anyway, it can be sourced from the nature quite easily. So that's the available kind. The way spells work, you have a spell work. So you make a little board, you put a little spell, you collect some magic, and you put it in rings. And those rings carry different spells, different amount and strength of spells. It's really nice magic system that's quite fun and unique, and yeah, mainly you have these rings that have the power, but depending on how strong you are as a caster, or how strong you are as someone who can make a curse or a spell, that depends kind of on your power level. So we follow this little town of Ilvernath, I think that's what it's called, and it has been shooked because there was a scandalous book that came out talking about this curse that is fallen on the 7 great families of this little town. Basically, there is high magic after all in the world, but the only source of high magic belongs to these 7 families, or these people that live in this small town. And every 20 years they have a tournament to find out which family's champion wins, and the champion's family gets access to the high magic. So this is a bit of a controversial tournament, because it's kind of like Hunger Games. They each choose a champion and then they fight to the death. They have 3 months to fight. After 3 months, if no one wins, everyone dies, or like every champion dies, or just a random person in the family dies if they don't choose a champion. So it's a very serious curse that every 20 years they have to commit to. And because the winning family has access to high magic, they are extremely powerful, very important people, if everyone pretty much has to do as they say. Thing is, this tournament was a secret for many hundreds of years, because the families thought that other people would start rebelling and wouldn't really like this arrangement. So once this scandalous book comes out that accounts for the tournament, explains the curse, explains the champions, all of that, people come knocking. They are shocked, they're revolted. There's a bunch of reporters come to town. There are people that use this as a opportunity to be a tourist and come view these people. It's all a bit of a mess, really. And what do you know, the Blood Veil, which is what starts the tournament, is set to set in a couple days time. So there we have a new host of 7 champions who will have to fight to the death to get access to the high magic. I'm gonna go through plot, writing, characters, and themes, and then just give you some general thoughts. So if there's anything you're particularly interested in, I would check out the timestamps below. Let's kick it off with writing. So I knew that Amanda Foody was an amazing writer, and I was really impressed by her other series. So I knew that she could deliver, but this is a co-written joint project, so it's a bit different. And I must say, I did like the writing, although I was maybe a little disappointed. It felt a little bit dry. I feel like what was really amazing about Ace of Shades is how well the atmosphere, the city, how all of that was crafted, and really you felt like you were part of it. Atmosphere building was just absolutely amazing. And in this book, that's something I would say lacked a little bit. I did feel like I had a good feel for the outrage and the people of Ilvernath, but not really the town. I don't know, I never got spooked, but I never really got into the spookiness of this town, how bizarre it is. It never really felt like I understood it through the writing. It just felt a little bit removed. So I think the better job could have been done with a bit more descriptions. I mean, I know it's not everyone's writing style and not everyone's preference style, but I feel like in such an atmospheric book, there should be a certain level of immersion and atmosphere, especially if you're in a creepy setting or whatever. I feel like that's what really sets it off, and that really puts you in the character's head and in the town, and you can buy it a little bit more. So I wish it was a bit more atmospheric. I didn't find it overtly atmospheric, like I said, and it just felt a little bit removed. And that's something actually that I guess we're going to jump into plot. Something that I had an issue with, and I think I figured out maybe what it was also the pacing. I felt like the pacing was very strange in this book because it's not a big book. It's actually only 380 pages, I believe, so pretty short book for a high fantasy of this caliber. I don't know, I feel like Ace of Shades was probably bigger, but I'm not sure about that. But it just feels like, okay, it's not a big book and it has to accomplish quite a lot, but it just felt like the pacing was a bit strange. So we spent probably a third of the book leading up to the beginning of the tournaments. I actually enjoyed that part because I do feel like we needed it to establish characters, the setting, the world, all of that. We kind of needed that to get into it and understand each character, where they're coming from and why they have to do this, because you always have that why you just don't do it if you don't want to do it. So they explained that well, and I liked it, although it felt like maybe dragged a little bit. It was just a little bit but I didn't mind that part. But then we get to the tournament, and it's just a very weird structure where there'll be a week that passed and literally we did not hear anything about it. We just are told that a week passed and we are told this is what the characters did, but that was the main opportunity for the authors to build the characters and the character relationships, because we pretty much we didn't see these people interact almost at all before the tournament. So now it's only 7 people in this tournament. No one can interfere, no outside character can interact with any of the champions. So we're in a situation where it's literally just these 7 people and no one can even talk to them, none of the other characters we met, and we've not had these people interact at all. And then we have this massive time jump, well, not massive, but a week in such a high stress situation, and you just told us these people hang out in a cave for a week and supposedly bonded. I just felt a little bit robbed of that character work and dynamics and of that. I just felt like that was kind of keeping me from fully enjoying it, because I am someone that needs good relationships and stuff. And then the last half of the book, I didn't even realize, but it happened over 24 hours or maybe even less than that, and it happened, so much happened, and I just don't understand why we couldn't kind of spread it out a little bit and have a bit more human moments. All the quiet moments we were told about as it already has happened, and just yeah, we spent a week together. like, it's a big deal. You did not have a relationship before, so I don't really have an idea of you don't even know what your relationship is. So spending a week together locked in a cave should be a big deal. So it just felt a little bit like there could be more work done to make it have a bit more of a punch. That also made it very strange to me because there were characters that did have a past together. They were friends or something in the past, but then they fell out and now they're stuck together in this very deadly situation. And like, we keep hearing that they had a relationship, but then we don't get to explore that relationship. I didn't feel anything. We either needed like a dual timeline where you actually get to care for these people in the past, or we had one flashback scene which felt so out of place because we didn't get that at all with any other situation or scene. So it was just this one random flashback scene that felt like it didn't need to be there, because to fit with the other parts of the book more, it would just be told to us, but all of a sudden we need to experience it, so it feels a bit cheaper that we didn't experience all the other ones. So I just felt a little like confused about what they wanted me to feel for the characters, because like I said, if you have a relationship in the past, I feel like that's so much harder to make people care, and if you don't even gonna explore it very well. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a dual timeline would have been a better idea, maybe just more flashback scenes so that one didn't stick out like a sore thumb. I don't know, but something needed to be there, and we needed a better structure to the pacing and to the writing. The plot overall was very interesting. It was very Hunger Game-esque. I mean, it has this whole tournament and you can't leave and you're kind of forced into it. It actually has a very interesting aspect to it as well, because there's people that were like proud of this, and that's what their ancestors wanted to do, and they trained since they were little, so kind of like District 1 and 2. But then we have people who always lost, literally never ever won, so everyone thought that person would die first and had absolutely no faith in them, not even their own family. So that's kind of like a District 12 underdog story. So all of that is there, and it's very interesting. So I did enjoy those parts. I don't want to say that the plot was bad overall. I think it was good. It just felt like this could be elevated a little bit to become dearer to me and to my heart, and to engage me in the story a bit more, because the characters were so important, because the cast was so small. I just felt like there was a bit of a disconnect. And on topic of characters, I guess we can talk about characters now. There were 4 main POV characters but 7 champions, and the 4 POV characters, I must say, I was impressed by how equal their screen time was and how equal their development was. I definitely have the exact same amount of knowledge and understanding of each of the POV characters. So I like that, because there's nothing wrong with having one main character, but if you want this to be an ensemble cast, you need to make it more or less equal, or like more or less compelling, because otherwise I'm just reading about people I don't care. So no, I think that was done very well. Like, all the POV characters were interesting. But I think actually, because there's only 7 champions, maybe it would have been interesting to hear a little bit more from all of them, because then the 3 that don't get a POV feel very distant, and one of them is like important to one of the POV characters, and like I said, their relationships I feel pretty poorly executed. I did not care at all, and the way it was executed was strange to me, but the POV characters were very interesting. So we have Bryony. So Bryony has always wanted to be a champion. This was a really big part of her upbringing, and she always knew she was the strongest in her family, so she knew she would be the one taking up the mantle, so she's very, very excited about it. And then something happens to like shift her perspective monumentally, and she's a very interesting character. Then we have Alistair Lowe, who is from a family that always, like 90% of the time, wins. So he's kind of seen as a pariah, and everyone wants him to lose just because they don't want that family to succeed. But him and his brother have always been secluded, not allowed to go to school, not allowed to leave their house very much, because people didn't want them to like know about the champions before the actual tournament. And his mother always told him stories about monsters, and that he's a monster, and she wanted him to be a villain and be evil. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And then we have Inez, who is from a family that's seen as social pariah because they go to funerals and collect the death magic or like laugh magic from dead people who are put in the ground. And she's been quite estranged from her father, who's part of this family, so she always lived with her mother, who divorced her father, so she's a bit removed from it but really wants to be part of the family. And then we also have Gavin, who is from that one family that always loses, and he's basically considered a walking corpse because no one believes that he could actually win. So it's a very interesting dynamic, very interesting characters, very interesting backstories and also motivations. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was done very well, and I was invested in all of them. Like I said, that was very impressive to me. And there's a romance that was like, so again, I feel like I was projecting a little bit because it was not actually that developed, because we didn't get time to pine and sit there in that longing long enough, at least for me. I feel like Ace of Shades, I keep comparing it, but that's like my one single point of reference and why I even picked up this book. I feel like in that book, the romance, A+++++, but it was so well developed. And this book, it's not as well developed, I'm not gonna lie to ya. It's not bad. It's definitely got me the feels, got me butterflies, got me freaking out. It's rivals to lovers. It's wonderful, but it's a bit underdeveloped, because in Ace of Shades it was like the two main characters, two POV characters basically, and here it's in an ensemble, so it's a bit harder. So I get that, but again, this book could have been 100 pages longer and just have a bit more fluff, a bit more padding, a little bit more character work. At least that's what I enjoyed, so that's what I would have enjoyed seeing from this book. I was reading this book, I was like, it's like a free, it's okay. And then the romance had its glory 20 pages, and I was like, la. 5 stars. I love this book so much, I love it. But then it kind of died down again, so I was like, I don't know now. I don't know how I feel. Okay, themes is the last section. There were many themes. I don't know if there's any that I particularly wanted to discuss. I mean, definitely like the concept of like villains and being raised as monsters and being told we fit this certain stereotype or this certain archetype, and kind of trying to mold ourselves into what's expected of us. Definitely a big theme. Legacy, family, and what we're willing to do in the name of family and in the name of tradition as well. So it was very interesting in that sense, and I really liked it. There's like a little bit of a corruption maybe arc. I don't know if it's a corruption arc, but like going bad, it all flips with like from what is archetypal, all of that. Like it's kind of still predictable, as in like, you know, the bad boy is not going to be the ultimate bad boy, you know, the whatever is not going to be, you know, it's all there. But I did think it was interesting, and it's kind of like re-examining your values. There was one point with one character that I just did not get. I did not get the shift in thinking. There was such a monumental shift in perceiving the world and actioning, and again, it was so quick, a page, and all of a sudden this character that believed something their whole life doesn't believe it. So all of it felt a little bit like I need sell it to me a little bit more. That was basically my feeling the whole way. This has very good bones and it's a pretty good story, but just sell it to me a little bit more. So I guess, yeah, let's just talk about my final thoughts. Overall, I do think that All of Us Villains is a good book. It could do a little bit with a little bit meat on those bones. This is a thin book. I was so surprised. It's not even like a proper sized hardback. It's pretty small. So like, this could be thicker and it could do more, and I expected more, if I'm going to be honest, because Amanda Foody in her other book is just such amazing character work. It was all about characters for me, and in this one, I just felt like I was prescribing, like I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I was like believing in things that weren't really there. It was like me trying to be like, oh yeah, this is why, because this is blah blah blah, why, or like, oh yeah, this amazing arc, but like I don't get to see it very much. So I felt like it just could do with a little bit more. Overall, I'm gonna definitely continue with this series. I was really engaged and it was a good time reading. I didn't like hate it, but I had pretty high expectations, so take that as you will, whether that was a good thing, bad thing. I do think it could have done with a little bit more, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. I think that's pretty fair. I had a great time with the romance, I had a good time with the characters, and I thought it was interesting magic system, but the whole world just felt a little bit underbaked for me. The characters, as well, a little bit underbaked. Like, I get the ideas that were happening, but I just don't know if the execution is the best it could be. In fact, I know it is not, because I think Amanda Foody could do better. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's Christina Lee Herman's fault, because we don't know. We weren't there when it was written, but I'm just saying I have high hopes for a sequel and make it thicker. Alright, that's it from my review for All of Us Villains. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. If you could like, comment, subscribe, I'd really appreciate me. Let me know if you read the book. If you have, what did you think about it? But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!